Welcome to Food Talk, where we talk about food, fishing, farming, and all things East End. And in this particular case, all things North Fork. Because today our guests are Stephan Bogardus, the chef at NorthForkTable&Inn, and the wonderful, legendary Claudia Fleming, Pastry Chef of the Year, according to the James Beard House in year 2000. Welcome to Food Talk. Thanks for coming down.
Dinosaur.
Dinosaur. No, I don't think so. We were discussing our history. History's good, Claudia. So let's talk with you. Let's start with you. So it turns out that you and I have some friends in common. Gail Arnold, former chef at Nick and Tony's.
Yep.
Tony Ross, the Tony of Nick and Tony's. Tell us where you met them and what your history is, because I just think it's fascinating. It's a very small world.
Yes, it is a very small world, and the older you get, the smaller it gets, right?
That's right, it's true.
So we all started together in 1984 at Jams. Talk about legendary.
Right.
Jonathan Waxman and Melvin Master started the new California cuisine restaurant in New York City.
Which was a big deal at that time, because
Big
New
deal.
York had not seen that clean cuisine, which was a huge deal.
Huge deal.
Right.
Huge deal. Very influential for me. Really turned me on to cooking and just all the amazing new styles of cuisine.
But you weren't a pastry chef there, were you? Or were you? Right. You were in the front of the house?
I was front of the house, and eventually went to, well, I begged Jonathan for years, like, can I work in the kitchen? Can I work in the kitchen? He's like, okay. So then I just started going in on days off and stuff like that. And, you know, Helen was in the kitchen, Stephanie Linus was in the kitchen, Gail was in the kitchen.
Bobby Flay, or had Flay moved on?
Flay had moved on.
All right.
And, you know, Jonathan was ahead of his time in a lot of ways, but really just hiring women and having them run his restaurants was huge. And so they were very inspirational for me.
You know, we had Gail on the show, and Gail was talking about she had trained extensively in France, and so she went around to French restaurants in New York, spoke fluent French, and they just turned her away because she was a woman.
Absolutely.
But Jonathan was like, embraced it and said, go for it. And I love that story. You, however, unlike Stephan, who was a man, correct me if I'm wrong, who has always wanted to be a chef, you know, within reason, and has studied, you went to CIA, and then you ended up back on the North Fork, but you wanted to be a ballerina.
I did.
So you had a whole thing of like going to dance school, and because as I understand it, the work at Jams was to supplement your you know, you're trying to make it as a dancer, and then you ended up taking cooking classes at the Peter Kump School, which is now the Institute for Culinary Education,
Very
ICE.
fancy.
And your first break was at Gramercy Tavern. We'd call it, or really was it Union Square?
Well, I was still waiting tables at Union Square. And again, was working part-time in the kitchen. And then I was working part-time at Montrachet.
Oh, what a great restaurant.
And then Drew opened Tribeca Grill and asked me to come to Tribeca Grill, which is where I met Jerry Hayden, my husband.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would say probably Tribeca Grill was my first break, because that really catapulted me into, you know, the cooking world, and those guys were serious.
Yeah.
And after my year at Tribeca, then I went to Paris for a year. And then came back and then hooked up with Danny Meyer and Tom Colicchio at Gramercy.
That's pretty good, and that's a heck of a pedigree.
Yeah.
And so no wonder you've been able to attain what you attain, because we all stand on each other's shoulders, but then, you know, there's people now standing on your shoulders. Sir, you, Southold native, you went to CIA, but then you ended up cooking at a country club in Rochester. How'd you get to Rochester? And then how'd you get back down to the North Fork?
Yeah, I think that you have to follow your heart and go with love and what you love. And at the time, it was a woman, and she wanted to go to Rochester, so we went to Rochester.
Of course, it makes perfect sense to me, right?
There's only so much. Sometimes you just have to listen and go with the flow, and that's what I was doing. everything in life works out. It was really pretty great experience. Very, very different as what my pedigree is and what I'm doing now.
Right.
But you learn everywhere you go.
And were there other restaurants before North Fork Table, or give us our viewers and listeners a little timeline of your
So
career?
my dad was a tile setter, and he started setting tile at his side job in tile restaurant for this gentleman named Hans Long, who opened up Hans's Gasthaus and Hans's Wurst House in Greenport way back in early 90s. And after he sold off his restaurants, he opened a food truck. And he asked me if I wanted to work on the food truck. So I started off there when I was like 13 to 15. Then I worked at Farmer's Bar in Cutchogue and Four Doors Down in Mattatuck. I thought I was going to be a lawyer, and I didn't get into any good law schools, and I wasn't very good at school. But the chef there had originally worked for Hans at Hans's Gasthaus and told me about CIA. His childhood best friend was Anthony Ciganano of the Breakers Hotel. So once I got into CIA, Tommy put me in a room with Anthony, and I got my internship lined up, and I worked there. And then to North Fork Table. I spent a little bit of time working in Florida again at Cafe Blue Palm Beach for Danielle, and a little tiny bit of time in Manhattan at Restaurant Danielle. And then back to North Fork Table, and then a brief stint in Rochester, and then back to North Fork Table, and hopefully not going anywhere for a while.
Right. And so, not to put words in your mouth, but Jerry Hayden was a great influence on you. Tell me a little bit about his mentorship and how that unfolded.
I feel like Jerry influenced so many chefs within this generation, and is a name that's talked about a lot on the North Fork, but not so much as it should be, because he really influenced a lot of people, and I feel like I was super lucky to be there with him when I was. Because working with him in a small restaurant, it wasn't like we had a butcher, we didn't have a saucier, we were doing all these things by ourselves. We came in really early, and we worked really hard prepping and setting up and ordering and setting up our stations and cooking and plating dishes and then breaking down and ordering for the next day and cleaning up and going home and doing it all over again. So it was really cool, and to be there from setup to breakdown, 6, sometimes 7, sometimes 5 nights a week, with someone who was so masterful in their craft was really beneficial, because you got to see all the knowledge. It wasn't just bits and pieces like a lot of cooks get when they go to these really, really, really high-end Michelin 3-star restaurants.
He's a funny guy too.
Oh, it was so much fun.
Hysterical. I remember at one point his maniac when he was young. I mean, still a little bit, but like flying around corners, just like so fast in the kitchen. And I'm like, Jerry, if you don't tell that kid to slow down, I'm gonna kill him. He's like, I love that kid. I love that kid. He's just like me. I love that kid.
There was one time I was coming out of it. We have a screen door that opens 2 ways in the kitchen, and I thought I was in the weeds for something, so I was running around too much, and Jerry and Claudia were outside talking, and I flung the door open, and it took Jerry down a little bit. He kind of like got set off balance, and he goes, "It's 2:30 on a Monday. Stop. Just relax a little bit." And that was totally the mentality that I had for a long time. We had to get everything done.
So I was a waiter at Monero Steakhouse in Roslyn. I was 25 years old. It was Christmas Day, and we got slammed. And I come flying out of the kitchen with a tray, and all the waiters were in their 50s and 60s. They were known as the syndicate. So I come flying out with a tray, and one of the older guys, his name was Chick, he grabs me, he goes, "Hey kid, slow down." He goes, "I'm going to tell you something. Nobody gets anything without you. Nobody gets a drink, nobody gets a check, nobody gets their food without you. You're in control of the table. Now slow down." It was the best lesson I ever learned in the restaurant business.
Brilliant.
To be told that I have control, especially in the front of the house.
Yeah.
But it's true even in the kitchen, because there's pressures in front or back of the house. To just slow down and just execute what's in front of you. And when you're out in the front of the house, where you're just all these people waving money at you, which they actually did at that restaurant on that particular day, I just said, I just took control of the table. And those women said, "Oh, he's good," because I was essentially yelling at them or just saying, no, here's what it's going to be. What would you like to drink? What would you like to drink? That's the same lesson that Jerry taught you.
Yep.
Good for you guys. We're going to jump right now and play Food Lovers Companion Roulette. So,
Oh my.
this is one of our signature contests, if you will, on the show. And we're going to try and stump the chefs. And I'm like 19 for 19. So I'm due for a loss.
There's a lot of
Wait,
information
do you
in this
choose
book.
or you just open it up to a?
Oh, I choose.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I try to find something.
So they're guest specific.
No, not
Okay.
necessarily. Not
Okay.
necessarily. I wouldn't. You're suggesting that I'm cheating. No. Okay.
Stacking
No,
the
no,
odds,
stacking
right?
the deck.
But
Yeah, there you go.
tell us what you said before we opened. That
This was a game that we used to play in college where we'd hang out at my buddy Ben's house and one of us would pick the book up and throw it at the other one, and if you'd open your page and if you got it right, the other person drank. If you got it wrong, you drank. And so who wins, who loses, who
Okay.
really knows. But
Well, let's-
it was studying.
Who gets drunk?
It was studying.
It was
I
studying.
call
was
So
studying. Hey,
if there's any
creative.
chef that we've
Very
had on
creative.
that could actually win, by the way, you don't win anything except bragging rights, and then I will mention you every subsequent show.
19.
He is a walking encyclopedia. It's unbelievable. Okay, I hope I haven't set you up.
Yeah. So
Sorry,
to that
sorry.
end,
Here we go.
Sorry.
Montasio.
Montasio. Of course, you pick an Italian term.
Well, what is Montasio?
Cheese.
It's an Italian style of cheese.
Sheep's milk cheese.
Close.
How much further do we have to go?
You know,
Yeah.
I almost,
Hey, come on
I almost
here.
have to. Okay, so let me read
Italian
it.
cheese.
So here we go. Hailing from Italy's Friuli Venezia Giulia region, Montasia is a cow's milk
cow.
cheese with a flavor that can range from extremely mild to when young to sharp when aged. And you know, you said it was a cheese.
I know, and then I got it wrong.
No,
when I
but
said-
you know, I gotta give
19 and a half.
I'll take half
to
credit.
0.5.
Is there
no,
half credit
I
here?
think yeah, definitely. I
Okay.
think well done. You know,
Okay.
That was easy.
entonces,
That's it?
no, that's the
Okay.
show's over. No,
Okay.
but you won. I mean, I think you won. You guessed that it was a cheese. Okay, so 5 people, Stephan, that you would invite to dinner in the history of the world. Can be anybody. Who would they be?
Going back to love, I'm madly in love with my girlfriend, who I've known forever, so she would have to be there, Miss Allegra. I would love to introduce her to my grandmother. I am in love with food, so there would have to be 2 super high-end Michelin 3-star chefs. One, Thomas Keller, I think would be fantastic, and someone who's passed named Benoit Volier, very famous gentleman over in Europe. I would love, and he was a big hunter, a gatherer, and he did crazy things with meat, so I would love to have him there. And then someone like Jimi Hendrix. Just kind of like a weird curveball that
Yep.
would be like, hey, Grandma, meet Jimmy. Jimmy's tripping out. Let's see where this is going.
Yeah,
I feel like the conversation
Who is
would
this
be
Jimmy
good.
kid?
And I don't know. I think it would be just weird enough to where there would be lots of love, but lots of weird love.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's good. Oh, I love
Excellent.
those.
Excellent.
Miss Claudia, you're 5.
Yeah. Wow.
History of the world.
Went back and forth so many times. It's like I think Jesus has got to be in there.
Yeah, I had Jesus.
Got a lot of good
Yeah.
stories to tell, probably, right? Then who else was on my list? Martha Graham, Elizabeth I,
Yeah.
Jerry.
No, of course.
Jerry's got to be there.
Of course.
And Nancy Silverton.
Oh, nice.
I adore Nancy. She's my idol. Forever.
These are great, both of them, great, both of you guys, great answers. Now, North Fork Table, ridiculous amounts of accolades, including for the successor of Jerry, while Jerry was there. By the way, I want to have a shout out to Mike and Mary Mraz,
Absolutely.
co-owners.
Yep.
Mary came from Gramercy, if I'm not mistaken. Michael
That's how
came
we
from
know each
Hearth,
other.
right?
Yep.
And hi guys, we're having a good time.
Cheers.
But what's good up there right now? Now you got the food truck going on. By the way, a lot of South Fork people come up to visit you guys, and if you haven't been there, do yourselves a favor, have a little excursion. You know, you get 2 ferry rides. This is a tremendous restaurant, really one of maybe
Thank
the
you.
best restaurant on Long Island, they say, right?
Thank you.
So I just had dinner there recently with our mutual friend V. It's a very special restaurant, and yet relaxed, which is what we like. What's cooking right now? What if some of our South Fork viewers were to go up there? What would they encounter?
asparagus and rhubarb, and there's some strawberries coming, leafy greens, kale. A lot of people think that kale is a warm weather thing, and certain varietals are, but we tend to eat kale a lot when it's colder, so
Right.
I'm no longer using that. But the spinach that we have right now is absolutely out of control, coming from
And we
local
have
bag down
we
in
have
Hampton.
an asparagus ingredient.
Asparagus, rhubarb.
Yeah.
We love using flowers, so we have some chive blossoms.
Great.
I'm so excited for strawberries.
Me
this year.
too. They're almost here.
And what
Couple more
what
weeks.
dish or dishes can you guys like not take off the menu? I know sometimes that bores chefs. What's stuck on the menu that people just love and you just go, okay, just surrender the point. We'll just keep serving it.
I'm doing a sweet pea hummus. We came up with the idea about a year ago, and it's
I
chips
had
and
it.
dip.
I
But
had
it's
it.
really
Yeah.
good, and I still eat it almost every day. I
Yep.
keep thinking that one day I'm going to take a spoonful of it and be like, I'm done.
That's it.
I can't do it anymore. But every single day I'm like, man, this is awesome. It's really good.
Okay, sweet pea hummus. What about you, Claude? What about some of the desserts?
Tapioca.
Right.
Tapioca can't come off. And the chocolate caramel tart.
I'm a tapioca freak.
Yeah.
I love that
So
stuff.
good.
Let's just talk a little bit about this wound on your hand. I
Oh,
don't know if we
my.
can get a shot of it.
It's covered for a
thing.
reason. I was hoping.
So you either duke somebody out, or it's a kitchen burn, or maybe there's another story.
We were recently doing a photo shoot, and of course it happens when you're on air or having pictures taken of you. And I was going to sear beef, and they were in the kitchen, and it was a normal service. There was nothing going on, and there's a lot of mindfulness and there's a lot of precision in movement because kitchens are really, really, really dangerous places, and especially when you're somewhat a maniac who tends to move too quickly, it takes years of time to slow down. And so I was searing off beef in a big 14-inch saute pan that was just coming up to smoke point and had oil in it, and I didn't have pepper on my beef, so I go to push the pan off the stove so that I could put pepper on my beef, and the oil just splashed all over me, and it instantly sizzled and wrinkled and turned brown. And
That's an oil burn.
Then I had to do these really awkward hand gestures, putting plates to the past for the photographer. So keep an eye out for some fun-looking pictures with my hands in awkward positions, but no burns. And luckily they're covered.
Working chef. Working chef.
Hey,
Working chef.
This is part of the wounds of the
Yep,
trade.
yep.
So, Stephan, what have you brought to for us to taste today?
I love cookbooks and I love recipes and I love checking out what people are doing, but I feel like a lot of cuisine has to be approachable for home cooks and professional cooks. So we have a really, really simple asparagus soup that has tons of variation to it.
Yum.
It could be hot or cold. It all depends on how long you leave it in the saute pan or if you get it cold. It could have dairy, it could not have dairy. Maybe you want to use almond milk in it. I think that could be a cool little twist. And it's really simple. All that it is onions and asparagus, and I like a little bit of fat, whether it's olive oil, cream, or almond milk, and some chive blossoms, which are something that is probably sprouting in almost everyone's garden right now. If you have chives, you probably have some blossoms.
Nice. Why don't we go ahead and plate the soup,
Cool.
and then Claudia, tell us what you've brought us. This looks delicioso.
This is a shortcake, classic for this time of year. It's rosé poached rhubarb with a catapano goat cheese cream
Yum.
and some, pistachios and candied ginger.
Yum. That looks great. So how long will that stay on the menu?
First it's just rhubarb, then it's strawberries and rhubarb,
Right.
then it's just strawberries, and then it goes away. Because that's how the seasons roll.
Okay, I understand.
I'm not a huge fan of raw onion, and a lot of people see these things and they think they're really intimidating, and you don't throw the whole thing in your mouth, but it's really easy to just pick it apart. You just pick little tiny blossoms.
And it's
put it in
gorgeous.
there, and once in a while you get a nice little pop of oniony goodness. It's like a Springs version of mint shallot.
Nice,
Really good.
nice. So we should taste, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the kind of thing, a lot of times as we're cooking, we don't have time to sit down and have a big meal, but this is something that's healthy and nutritious, and I could drink.
Oh, you could drink this
Yeah,
easily.
why not?
Oh, Claudia, you want to try?
It's like the most delicious green juice you've
I
ever
just-
had, right?
And you could really,
Thank you.
could go nuts with it. You could put any kind of herbs or spinach or arugula. Like this has some arugula and a little bit of parsley in it.
Yum.
Add a little bit of spiciness.
Yum, yum.
The whole thing is we do professionally with food that I'd like to pass on to the home cook is to have fun with it. Don't
Right.
cook with something if you don't like it. You're
Right.
not gonna like it no matter how hard you work at it.
And it's okay to vary a recipe if you don't have the proper ingredients.
There are guidelines, man. There are no rules.
You want to taste your own creation?
I should.
Here. I got a spoon for you. You're going to be all such love between Claudia and Steph. Of course, just grab a little bit more.
I like it a lot.
Delicious. Now, this
What I'm excited
is time
about.
for dessert. So we've already got some shots of this, but this is, I'm excited about the pistachio for some reason. I just think it's a really nice touch. And so, of course, I'm going to be the first one just to dive into this because I do love your shortcake.
Thank you. It's
delicious.
it actually has hard-boiled egg yolks in it,
Really?
which I think is what distinguishes it from most. So it's really
So
yummy.
good.
It adds richness without adding liquid. So it's pretty yummy. Oh, and we also make a jam from all the scraps of the rhubarb and cook it down. So there's also a rhubarb jam on there as well.
Are you tired of eating it?
Oh no, I'm never tired of
Right.
eating this.
There you go.
Thank you.
Best thing about living on the East End? Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Produce.
Local,
The people.
yeah. And Claudia, was that what prompted you guys, the original quartet, to come out?
Absolutely. I mean, there's all this, this evolving great wine industry, and there wasn't a restaurant to be able to showcase that.
Right. So what percentage of Long Island wines do you have on your wine list?
Oh, 35 to 50, I would say. I mean, they're all represented at one point or another. Mike is great about that. Giving everybody an opportunity to be on our menu, if by the glass or not.
Best thing about living on the East End?
I like the people. I mean, it's a fantastic place to live, but you can't go to your local coffee shop or farm stand or wherever you seem to spend time in your day, you're probably surrounded by good people.
And
And
friends.
they really care about what they're doing.
And let's talk about which local vendors that you guys use, which must be just plenty. But talk. Which farm stands, which oyster, which fish.
Almost exclusively for fruit, I use Wickham, and also the Oyster Ponds Berry Farm in Oyster Ponds. We use Catapano goat cheese. You use tons of other.
We use Ira Haspel at KK's The Farm. We use Stephanie Gaylor at Invincible Summer Farms. We do a little bit with Marianne and Jean Krupski at Margine Farms. We do Phil Mastraglo at Oyster Pond Shellfish Company. We source from Eight Hands Farm, a lot of protein.
McCall.
McCall Vineyards, we're using the Charolais beef. Ultimately, whatever the premier product at that season, at that farm is that we're using, that's what we want to get our hands on. And we do try out new farmers, like Tom Hart at Deep Roots Farm.
Yep, right next door.
He is crushing it
Perfect.
right now. I'm really excited for his cucumbers. So we're constantly tasting who's doing what, and we tend to buy large quantities what we perceive to be the best product.
Now, if you weren't a chef, what would you be? And you can't say a lawyer.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think I would have been a very good lawyer. I love going fast, and it's hard to do that responsibly. So I would love to be like Michael Schumacher or Sebastian Vettel, someone in the Formula One circuit. I have a deep love for motorcycles that's relatively new. It's only about 3 years or so, and Ducati MotoGP racing team would be phenomenal. But I'd like to say that Formula One's a little bit more safe than motorcycle driving.
It's okay, whatever you say.
And Claudia, I know that you had dreams to being a dancer. Let's just put dancing and being a great restaurateur and renowned pastry chef aside. What would you be if you weren't you right now? Or what do you just fantasize about what you might want to be? Or
A
do?
mom.
A mom. That's sweet.
I don't have kids.
That's
I have a
okay.
little doggy, but
All right. Okay.
yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah,
That's good. I
that-
like that. So we spoke. Was there a mistake that you guys can think of that you that ended up being a kind of a positive thing?
It's so horribly cliche, and I feel like 3/4 of the restaurant industry would say this, but misspent youth. You spend a lot of time doing things you really don't want to do with a lot of people that you shouldn't have in your life. And for me, ultimately, it just like Rochester, it brings you have to go through things in life to find yourself where you're supposed to be. You know, lose yourself to find yourself.
But how old are you now?
I'm coming up on 29.
All right, so you didn't misspend too much of that youth. We can discuss this off camera.
Right.
Throw you a beating on that one. What about you, Claudia? Was there any mistake that turned out to be a great thing, a good thing?
Well, it's hard to call anything that you learned so much from a mistake, right? Oh gosh, that is tough because I just feel like every day, you know, there's just so much learning that can happen. But, okay, I think we were talking about this on the way over. Dana Cowan called me to make her wedding cake. And
Dana Cowan was
the former editor-in-chief
of
Food and Wine. And this was in 2000, I guess. And I'm sitting at my desk at Gramercy Tavern looking at a postcard of Wayne Thiebaud. Do you know who that is? The artist that does lots of, okay. And there's this postcard with like, you know, a million different cakes all on stands. And I'm looking and I'm going, I know. Instead of one wedding cake, why don't we do like 25 different cakes and we'll decorate them all differently? And she was like, I love that. Oh my gosh. I thought I was going to kill myself. But it was extraordinary. I mean,
Right.
It turned out to be just a masterpiece and gorgeous, but I almost had a breakdown over
You
it.
made 25 wedding cakes?
Well,
Like
they weren't wedding cakes. No.
Right.
Some of them were a couple of tiers. Many of them were one tier. But the bar at Gramercy was just decorated with all these cakes. I mean, it was stunning, but it almost gave me a breakdown.
Oh my God, I'm sure
Yeah.
it would. Tell us what's good on the food truck right now, if we were to go up there. And what are the hours of operation of the food truck?
The food truck is open 5 days a week.
Nice.
Thursday through Monday, from 11:30 till 3:30 p.m. Oh gosh, I don't know.
Banh mi.
The banh
To
mi.
me, I'm banh mi. I eat mostly vegetables, but man, when there's good pork around, and
Yeah.
have banh mi right now is out of
He
control.
smokes the pork loin.
Yeah.
It has pork rillette on it.
Oh.
Pickled vegetables. It's just great.
Black bean burgers,
The black bean
pulled
burger.
pork, lobster
The veg
rolls.
sandwich is awesome because we're using the sweet pea hummus. It's got pickled radish on it, feta cheese, crispy onions. I'm kind of really digging that sandwich right now.
You're looking for something to do on Friday nights. McCall Vineyards, we serve their 100% grass-fed Charolais beef and burgers. You come down, have some wine.
We
have
take
some
the truck
burger.
to the vineyard and
so cool.
serve the McCall beef from the truck, and you get to have some.
Well, I know a lot of South Forkers make the trek to see you guys. You probably see a few 324s and 329s and 537s and exchanges. So I would urge our listeners and viewers to go see you guys, to say hello. You're very, very approachable. Get the shortcake because there's going to be some version of the shortcake
Yes,
on the
for the next
menu.
couple
'cause
months, for sure.
The cake is the thing, even though the berries and the rhubarb are just killer. It is a blessing to have you guys here. Thanks so much for coming down. Claudia, I could talk to you for hours because it turns out we have so many people in common that we know and love. I just want to thank you guys for coming down again. And to our viewers, I'll just say, cógelo suave, pero cógelo. Take it easy, but take it. And we'll just say that was easy. I just want to thank you guys so much for coming down.
An honor to be here, Steve.
Oh, yeah. No,